I want to talk about the update in the Luigi Mangione case. I found out about it this morning because I was driving my youngest child to a long dental appointment and my eldest kid was texting me, "Oh my God, did you hear the update?" So as soon as I parked at the dentist and got my son settled, I pulled up the headline. According to BBC News, a judge in New York State has dismissed 2 terrorism charges against Luigi, who of course has been accused of shooting United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The judge, Brian Caro, did rule that the second-degree murder charge could stand for now. He said that prosecutors had failed to establish that there was enough evidence to justify the terrorism-related murder charges that they had sought against Luigi. I actually went back and watched all of my videos and some of the older news coverage about Luigi to kind of refresh my mind before making this video. I think it would be good for all of us to go back and look at what people were posting on social media at that point in time. People all over the political spectrum. I should say working class people all over the political spectrum. It's actually really interesting to go back and look at people's social media posts from that period in time when that news was all breaking and we were all really consumed, as much as we're consumed with the Tyler Robinson story now, but the responses are really, really different. Unlike what we're seeing now in terms of public responses from various political factions in response to what Tyler Robinson has been accused of doing to Charlie Kirk, there was much more of a uniform reaction from people on social media when it came to what Luigi Mangione is accused of doing. Whether people were far on the political right or whether they were, like socialists arguing for universal health care. We saw all of these Americans talking about how broken healthcare is here, how devastating it is to be denied access to care or to be crippled with medical debt. It truly didn't matter where you fell on the political spectrum at that point in time. You didn't have a bad thing to say about Luigi. That wasn't actually what that conversation ended up being about, right? It sparked this big discussion about how broken our healthcare system is, how predatory our healthcare system is, how every person in the United States has had some very negative experience trying to access healthcare and being denied, or being, like our family has been, completely overwhelmed with medical bills. Medical bills are the, number one reason that Americans file for bankruptcy. We are in the wealthiest country on earth, and yet we don't have healthcare as a human right here. Everybody else thinks that we are ridiculous for the way that we have this predatory for-profit healthcare system where CEOs are getting extremely rich, like Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO. What was he making? $50 million a year or something? It makes no sense to people in other places that we have a system where the dividends for shareholders, the corporate bonuses for CEOs are the priority when it comes to healthcare instead of providing a good quality of care to every American. For-profit healthcare is inherently unethical. It's inherently creating a conflict of interest when you have these corporations whose mandate, their bylaws require them to prioritize, dividends for the shareholders, maximize their profit. They're going to cut corners. They're going to deny claims. The customer is not really the person who has subscribed to that health plan. The customer really is the shareholder. The priority, the obligation is to the shareholder. The priority is profit, not human life, not access to care. And we all fucking know that. Everybody in America knows that. And it's interesting to me to look back on those videos and those posts from back then and just see how it felt like we were really on the cusp of some kind of class consciousness, especially from conservative working class Americans, because they know they're getting fucked the same way that we are. It was a really clear case of like, oh yeah, CEOs, billionaires, the super rich, they are fucking all of us. We are literally dying so that they can get richer. We are literally suffering and dying so that the super rich can become even more extravagantly rich. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this in the United States of America? I actually had a lot of hope back then. That conversation was like, yeah, let's actually start addressing this issue. This has nothing to do with the political right and the political left. This is the up-down conversation. This is the oligarchy exploiting hundreds of millions of American working class people. And the reason I bring that up is because I think we still need to keep having that conversation. I think it is more important than ever that we keep having that conversation. But It also is because it relates to these two terrorism charges. Lots of us were aghast when we saw Luigi charged with terrorism, and people were saying that this was an assassination at the time. It was really clear that the oligarchy was shook over this, right? Do you remember Elon Musk was carrying his son around on his shoulders all the time as a human shield after this happened? Do you remember that lots of CEOs hired extra security? They were freaking out because at the time they thought there were going to be a lot of copycats. They were really worried that folks were gaining class consciousness and that there was going to be a class war. Whatever, we're already in a class war. The oligarchs are already killing all of us. But they were worried that the conservative working class that was simping for their own oppression and supporting billionaires like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, that they were going to wake up and realize the super rich are using you. They're exploiting you. They are making your life actively worse. They are the cause of your suffering. And again, I was really hopeful at that point in time that people were going to wake up to that reality. Now, I do think that there are a lot of people who recognize their suffering, working class folks, and they believed the lies of Donald Trump when he said, I'm going to make America great again. He acknowledged their suffering. He acknowledged that they were being exploited. He acknowledged that their quality of life was not good in the United States. But then he fed them a bunch of lies that he was going to fix it and make it better. And they believed him. And now they're finding out that it's not going so well. I watched a More Perfect Union video from earlier today. If you don't follow them on YouTube, you should go follow them. They were talking about Bernie Sanders going to West Virginia, a state that has historically been very, very pro-union, very, very blue, but went like 70% for Donald Trump. And the folks that they're interviewing in that video, they are from a coal mining town. Maybe they were coal miners or their dad or their granddad were. And they're talking about all of the ways that the working class is suffering in West Virginia and how the Democratic Party abandoned them. And so they decided they would listen to Donald Trump and his promises because they felt that the Democratic establishment had prioritized billionaires, CEOs, corporate interest. They saw Democrats as being the party that aligned with the people like Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO, who are actively oppressing them. Now, Donald Trump played the faux populist card. He said, I care about you. I care about working class people. I'm going to fix things in this coal mining town. I'm going to make life better for you. And I don't understand why folks would believe a man who was notorious for stiffing his contractors, electricians, landscapers, and is worth billions of dollars and was backed by the world's richest man. I don't know why they believed that he was actually a populist, but they did. And so as I'm watching these folks in West Virginia, they're like, things are getting even worse under Trump. We're about to lose a bunch of hospitals. People are going to lose their Medicaid coverage. He didn't actually fix the coal industry and bring jobs back to West Virginia like he said he was going to. He's forgotten about us. And they're thinking about their Labor Party roots. They're thinking about their union roots. And they're thinking about the fact that what we need is class consciousness, working class solidarity, and that really the super rich are the problem here. So when we look at the charges against Luigi that got dropped, these two terrorism charges were slapped on there on purpose because the billionaires, the CEOs, the oligarchs, they were really afraid when this happened. It was meant to send a message to other folks. If you look at what the judge said when he had those charges dropped today, he said that the prosecutors failed to show that the suspect intended to put political pressure on the government or to terrorize the general population. Those were key provisions in the law. I mean, let's not forget that the police commissioner for New York, Jessica Tisch, her daddy is a billionaire CEO. She also is extremely wealthy, right? She comes from tremendous generational wealth. Her grandpa was the CEO of CBS. The oligarchy saw what happened to Luigi as something that scared all of them. It scared the super rich. And since they know that they're pulling all the strings and they're running things behind the scenes, or now in 2025 America, right out in front, of course they thought terrorism charges would be appropriate. But the judge today said, no, absolutely not. I think a dismissal of these charges is a win for the rule of law. I think it would also behoove all of us to rekindle that conversation around healthcare as a human right, to rekindle that conversation of what kind of America we want to have. Why is it that more and more and more of our wealth is being siphoned off to the billionaires, to the oligarchy, while we are struggling harder than ever, while we are denied access to healthcare? Well, God knows how many people die every single, one report I read said it was something like 10 million Americans have died by the pencil when CEOs and healthcare corporations have denied them claims that should have been covered. Americans are dying for for-profit healthcare while CEOs get extremely rich. I think it's a great time to talk about what kind of America we want to create going forward and healthcare as a human right.